First game this Wii-Cember is Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition. I'm pretty familiar with Call of Duty 4 as it's one of my favorite Call of Duty games and one of the best games in the entire series, but I really wanted to lean into this being a fun and unique experience, so I was excited upon looking at the back of the box to discover that the Wii version supports the Wii-Zapper accessory. So I loaded up my plastic firearm and booted up the game. The first difference I noticed was the amount of control options in the menu. They really do give you a pretty fine degree of control over your play experience, which I thought was neat. Then I started a new game and... Oh my. Oh, fell off the ladder. Oh god, this should be interesting. Even before I talk about the motion controls, the visuals look like they have been buffed with some coarse grit sandpaper. I should take the time to mention, for ease of recording, that I'm playing these Wii games via the backwards compatibility on the Wii U, so it probably doesn't help that these games are being displayed on my 55-inch flat screen, but even still, everything from the environment to the characters looks severely compromised in order to run on the Wii. Going from the remastered version that was released a few years back to this is quite the shock. It's funny looking at how compromised the visuals of this version are, because the game, as you might gather from the gameplay, still doesn't run that great. If you're walking in a straight line with nothing happening around you, it's okay, but the second you get into a medium-sized conflict, the game immediately starts chugging like the little engine that could. I will say it rarely gets so bad to the point of being unplayable, but adapting to an entirely new system of aiming while the frame rate drops was an entirely different challenge to try and overcome. Let's talk about aiming. Playing with the Wii-Zapper was honestly hilarious. I was laughing the entire time I was playing the FNG ship training course, failing into every room just to get hit with a recruit recommended difficulty. I tried a couple more runs to get a recommendation of regular so I didn't completely embarrass myself for this video. Trying to aim with the Zapper felt like trying to control a wild fire hose. You end up shooting all over the place trying to get your reticle onto the enemies. This is made even worse when you have to reload. The way the controls are mapped, you have to shake the Wii nunchuck in order to reload. When the Wii remote and nunchuck are used on their own, it actually doesn't feel bad. It kind of mimics the motion of flicking a magazine out of a gun. But when the controllers are connected to the Zapper, they are fixed to the one plastic mold. So every time you go to reload your weapon, your aim flies all over the place from shaking the back of the gun. To be fair, it's also pretty funny for a bit. Eventually, I employed a turret approach where I rested the Zapper on top of a stool to try and steady my aim, which did actually help for a bit. And despite the aiming being a challenge, the sound effects and the feedback of the shooting are as quality as they've always been. It was at the point in the game where I had to defend Captain Macmillan after all gillied up, where I just wasn't able to be accurate enough to be able to survive the several-minute assault. At this point, I had to abandon the Zapper and just use the Wii remote and nunchuck on their own, and wouldn't you believe it, the game controls much easier this way. While these might seem like a lot of negative issues, and they are, honestly, I still had a lot of fun playing Modern Warfare Reflex. It's a pretty faithful port of COD 4 on the Wii. All the missions and modes have been carried over, and while technically speaking there's a lot to be desired, the core design of the game is still a blast. The game is a breezy action set-piece extravaganza of a first-person shooter that doesn't ever step off the gas until the credits roll. It has all the great parts of Call of Duty 4, like sneaking through the fields in a ghillie suit and assaulting the freighter, as well as all the annoying parts like the enemies with laser accuracy in the missile silo. And despite all the jank, this was still a new way to experience Call of Duty 4, which for someone like me who's played through the game 7 or 8 times, brought a smile to my face. If I had to sum up my experience playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition, I'd say it was like playing a fever dream. Things certainly resembled something I was familiar with, but they looked distorted and felt off. And for those who are saying Call of Duty 4 isn't a holiday game, there's a level with snow in it towards the end of the game, so there. Thanks for watching the first episode of Respawn Station Wii-Cember. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe to see how many more random unplayed Wii games I can get through before the end of the month. And while you're at it, check out RespawnStation.com for interviews, game reviews, guides, and more.